Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR402. It's AEW Battle of the Belts, and I am not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by Jaxie. How you doing?
Hello. Battle of the Belts coming up. Very excited. Thank you for having me again.
Well, I always appreciate we've got the two Jaxies, as it was, the Jaxie that watches the WWE product and the Jaxie that watches the AEW. Yeah. So at least you're going to be in a good mood today.
Yeah. I might be, sound a bit more uplifted than usual.
Well, no, but like I said, it's a very special show as we also have Gina joining us. Gina, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show again. It's been really fun, and I look forward to doing this one today.
Oh, well, the last time you were on was the WNR400 greatest podcast of all time. As everybody knows, and have you on because honestly, this is the truth. We have been inundated with email, probably the most ever in WNR podcast history, relating to because the question. Yeah, honestly, it's this. I'll say strangest thing. I've got an ego. There's no doubt, but the questions to Gina was just and. The question was, because obviously WNR 401, we did day one, we had predictions. And the question that kept popping up was, Gina, why did you go for The Miz? That's what people want to know.
Okay, so I am going to tell you now, the only reason I chose The Miz is because I knew the three of you were choosing Edge. So I just did it to be different. I knew he wasn't going to win.
That's how you use points, okay?
Oh, everyone wants to stand out and shine, right?
See, the problem is, Gina, Jaxie's got this kind of cockiness because she's won with Monty for the first, won the first prediction. So at the moment, but this is only just been. Well, I'll say for future, anybody listening, you've heard it now, all right? It wasn't a conspiracy. We weren't trying to kind of jazz it up or whatever anybody else thought. It was just, this is the thing, and no one believed it until... So I'm glad we have got that sorted. What we're going to look at today, like we said, is AEW, specifically since winter is coming. So we're going to have a look. Basically, we're not going to go into as much detail as we used to, Jaxie. As you well know, we used to cover every Dynamite Rampage in detail. So we're looking at a few details and we get straight in. So December 22nd Dynamite, and we had Kyle O'Reilly making his debut. Now, I'll give it Jaxie, you first. What do you think of Kyle O'Reilly making his debut? And, after what happened in NXT, kind of Von Wagner, Loser Leaves Town, showing up here, it's kind of unbelievable. Are you happy about it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised, because if I'm not, after seeing sort of the greatest sort of double showcase of entrances being Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole, you kind of had to somewhat wonder as to when his undisputed brothers might turn up. So I can't say I was surprised by this, but I didn't want it to be a surprise. I am very happy to see them both reunited under the AEW brand. I just think that the Undisputed Era really had something in NXT and really drew a lot of new crowd to this sort of developmental brand, so to speak. And I think even during their time when they were all still in NXT, I think it was really bad timing that they looked like start separating them a bit and splitting the group up. So I was always gutted for that. So I mean, I'm more than happy seeing him actually make his debut. I was waiting for it.
Well, the thing is as well, like you said, and it's even AEW playing off NXT storylines by having Kyle and Adam Cole a bit off for each other, saying, yeah, we've had problems. You don't need to do that, but it makes you as a fan go, well, you can kind of continue. Gina, I cannot believe WWE and NXT let the Undisputed Era go, especially how dominant they've been, synonymous with NXT, as it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm really, really shocked that the four of them weren't brought up to the main shows. I definitely think that the main shows could have really benefited from having the four of them up there, especially because they've gotten rid of the Hurt Business twice now. And many other factions they kind of just throw randomly together and then break up again. The Undisputed Era was something that was consistent in NXT. And I am so shocked that they let the four of them go. I assumed that they were going to just take them on up to the main roster and they would be sort of the new faction.
I think Roderick Strong is still signed with NXT, isn't he? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, Strong. He's former cruiserweight champion as it was now, so he'll be joining his buddies by the end of the year. I think that's the way it's.
It wouldn't surprise me. I'd be really jealous. I'm not going to lie. If all of my brothers are all together on a different wrestling program, and I'm still there, no, I wouldn't be happy either. So I could see Roderick joining them sometime soon.
Yeah, I do see that happening as well.
Without that, it's crazy to think, how big they were in NXT, especially I've been on our podcast kind of watching the Undisputed Era from debut to kind of dropping the ball, and it makes you think since Adam Cole didn't sign the contract, they were just like, fuck them. That's kind of...
Basically. I do think that it probably didn't help when Adam left. Obviously, his reasoning for wanting to probably branch out was because of the fact that he's got connection with Britt, wanting to work closer with her, to be with her, and just, new content as well, obviously helps add to that. So, I mean, he's a trendsetter, isn't he? They're all moving in now.
So we'll move on, and again, with AEW, it's not all sunshine and flowers, so to speak, so I'm going to try and have a look. And the problem with this episode of Dynamite I was watching was Nyla Rose having to deal with arseholes with sign, bang front and centre in the crowd. And this has kind of been an ongoing thing when we've seen different wrestlers kind of treated like this. And it's just not on. That's the basic way of saying it. And I think hopefully AEW, there's a difference, where WWE kind of control the crowd. But you need to do that, especially with dickheads.
Definitely. I mean, you need to have an awareness for this so that you can actually not only prove to your wrestlers that you have hired, but also to your fans that you do protect those at sort of risk of these discriminating posters, of a lot of the nasty written comments that they've put. They've done it for a couple of different people. There were loads of sort of haggling of Anthony Bowens at one point as well in the crowd, and I remember seeing like security in the background physically removing those people, and we just need to keep doing that to actually showcase that it's not allowed anywhere within the company, outside of the company. This goes for any company out there in general. Like, it's really not allowed. Discrimination and racism, there's no room for it anymore. People need to grow up. And they need to move on from this stigma that they actually have stuck to themselves, because no one else cares about their opinion apart from themselves.
Like I said, the important thing is to be addressed, talked about, and hopefully sorted out. And it's even like, we talk about football and stuff like that, still dealing with, racism and problems there. And with AEW, it's not saying that they're all like that. There's a small percentage of everybody who's a dickhead, so to speak. But it's shining a light on that and saying, no, we're going to go the opposite direction. Kind of, it's all inclusive. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
it is sad to see that this is still happening, especially when there's so many fans who are clearly coming to this sport for entertainment. And there's always going to be a few that ruin it for others. But it's just like my sister said, it's just not on, and it shouldn't be accepted at all anywhere. Everyone in this world is different. Everybody is different, but we all have two eyes, one nose, one mouth. That's all that should matter. So the hate just needs to stay out. It really should.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And then we see Sting wrestling in Greensboro for the first time in 27 years. Team with CM Punk versus FTR and MJF in a quality main event. I mean, Gina, me and Jaxie have talked about how great Sting has been in AEW. You're on this boat with us, aren't you?
I am very much on the Sting boat. Seriously, he is. To know how good he still is at his age as well. it's just great. I enjoy watching Sting wrestle so much, and I enjoy watching him wrestle just as much as I do Darby Allin. There's no difference. I enjoy it so much because he's still got the skills. Everybody still loves watching him, and the fact that he's come back to AEW and helps to elevate some of these younger stars, it's just amazing and admirable.
And it was a really entertaining main event as well. And then we move on to a special Christmas Day edition of Rampage. And just to make everybody internet happy, Cody Rhodes beat Sammy Guevara to become a three-time TNT champion. Who thought this was a good idea?
I mean, I think it's a brilliant idea. I'm not going to lie. Look at how much hate Cody is getting at the moment. And why shouldn't he just keep on milking it? He might as well, because of no matter what he does, he's never going to win over the crowd. So why not actually just keep on haggling them? And this is the best way to do it. This is exactly what no one wanted, and yet we got it. You know?
About that.
Yeah, I agree.
The fans were not happy, but is Cody going to turn heel? Then is this what it's all leading?
Eventually, yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't not when you've really solidified yourself perfectly well. I think he's got the great makings to become a great heel because the crowd actually want that. But I don't think he's going to make it easy for us. I don't think he's going to really solidify that he's definitely a heel for a while. I think that he'll probably milk it as long as he can.
Well, it's going to be the John Cena thing of, well, heel or face, he gets a reaction, and look at the passion for the crowd. It's even the merchandise with the babyface heel winner, and it's just.
I actually really want that t-shirt. I really do. I like it a lot.
But like I said, it wasn't a bad match. And then December 29th, Dynamite, JR, and he might be trying to find his feet again, so to speak. But this guy's a legend, and JR, in my eyes, even if he has a couple of bad shows, he's entitled to.
He really is. He's worked long enough in this business. A lot of us who are fans from WWE and from back in the day all know that he's, suffered a multitude of health problems, and yet to still be within the business that he loves and still capable of doing it. Everyone slips up in their job. It's inevitable. So, I really commend JR for everything that he does and what he's brought to the wrestling community. And just wish him all the best when it comes to his health. Because I saw he fell over and actually gave himself a black eye and everything. He's a little bit accident prone as well. So, always sending my best thoughts to JR. But yeah, anyone that kind of complains about him really should just kind of keep quiet, because you're just bashing on a legend here.
Well, it's weird with JR as well. I mean, not to show my age too much, but when I first started watching wrestling properly, January of '99, Michael Cole and the King were on commentary because JR had Bell's palsy. So when he showed up at WrestleMania 15, I was going, who the hell is this guy? And I was like, why with the hat on? And it wasn't me finding JR and go, wow, and then going back and see, Kingdom 98 stands alone with his commentary. And like I said, just an absolute legend. Jericho returned as well. But Jericho returned just after his mate got his head bashed in. So I'd have a little chat with him about maybe time like that. But, Gina...
Definitely a questionable motive.
Gina, what do you think of Chris Jericho? Do you think he's still got something to offer to AEW?
I do, for sure. I definitely think that Jericho knows how to entertain the crowd and the fans, and... I think him coming back is great. He was such a great person, a great wrestler when AEW first started, and he brought many different sides of him, from his New Japan Pro Wrestling persona to even his WWE persona in a way. He's kind of just been able to create this persona and take other ones and merge and make it into such a great character, and including the faction he built as well. I think he's brought so much to AEW, and I still think he's got lots to offer in terms of helping to elevate the younger talent as well. So I'm definitely on the Jericho boat as well.
No, it's interesting because for me, I mean, we'll get into this in a little bit more, but with Dynamite, I feel he's going to have MGF on it. You're going to have CM Punk, a Chris Jericho promo, and might sacrifice something else, or, you know, but like I said, I'll get into that more detail in a bit. We see Jade Cargill advance to the TBS final, beating Thunder Rosa with the help of a debuting Mercedes Martinez. For me, the crowd didn't react as much as I would have hoped for this. But I think Martinez in AEW can only be a good thing, Jaxie, can't it?
Oh, hell yeah. You know, we were all kind of like wondering why she was so underutilized when she was in the NXT brand. I don't think she really was ever given a chance when she got onto the main roster either. She had like a very similar run to Mia Yim where it was nothing. It was very non-existent and disappointing. I think that she does have potential to do great things within a wrestling company, and I don't think that WWE utilized her as well as they should have. So I'm excited to see kind of what she can bring to AEW. We definitely need, you know, sort of like more stronger, powerful women on the roster, and that's exactly what we're getting. And this only helps but elevate the current female wrestlers that are on the roster to put them up against, you know, a lot more sort of challenging type characters, such as Mercedes Martinez. I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, and I think with the experience that she's got to be able to teach, like I said, the women kind of how to work a little bit, you know, and breed a bit more confidence into them as well. And then we see Sammy Guevara, after his biggest loss of his career, coming out and doing a card. And I thought, come on. I know it says, like, I'm going to win back the title, but really? Like, I don't turn into the Miz, but surely you should do a promo and be like how devastated you are and upset, as opposed to just the same old thing. Or am I wrong there?
I mean, no, I agree with you. I actually said that to you, Jaxie. Do you remember when he came out with the cards? And I said, why isn't he touching more on his loss and feeling more like, you know, upset at the fact that he had lost the belt, in my eyes, pretty quickly from getting it. I thought he had a bit of a longer run in him, so I would have assumed that there would have been a bit more bitterness in those cards, but instead he just seems like, you know, is happy-go-Larry. So yeah, I was really confused on why he wasn't, you know, being bitter and saying Cody's going to get taken down, but each to his own, I guess.
Well, maybe he deals with, you know, championship reigns coming to an end, as he does the same with relationships. So you just don't know how. You know,
oh, he went there.
just hashtag just saying. You know,
it's very true. It is. I mean, it is kind of true, but you know, I'm going to try and hold off judging other people's relationships when I don't know too much about it.
No, I didn't. No, not at all.
Myself in the foot there.
And then we see, I'm going to call them the era, because obviously it can't be the Undisputed Era, but we've got Red Dragon and Adam Cole at the moment, had their first match together on AEW, beating Orange Cassidy and Best Friends. How weird, I mean, Gina, how weird was it to, like I said, see the era interacting with like Orange Cassidy, like the most AEW thing versus the most kind of NXT.
I mean, it was a bit of a weird clash. I if you had asked me this time last year whether I would have seen those two factions in the same ring together, I would have said no. I would never have seen the Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends being in a ring with Adam Cole, let alone, you know, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly as well. So seeing it was amazing, and it sort of just gave me chills and goosebumps of all the greatness that's going to come from these guys. But it was also super weird to take in.
It's like alternate or, you know, multiverse or something. You go, is this right, or what's going on? But like I said, really, really good stuff. And then so we move on to New Year's Eve Rampage, called December 31st, and we had Bunny, Penelope Ford, Conte and Anna Jay having a brutal banger of a tornado tag. Britt Baker, eat your heart out. Everything. It's a shame Ford tried to kill herself on a moonsault attempt, but hey, Bunny, probably the best blood, but the bumps into the thumbtack of pole driving through a table and a barbed wire sleeper. EC Dub, EC Dub. And this was. This is brilliant.
Yeah. Again, this was a match that I was and this isn't meant to actually come across as an insult, so I hope it's not taken today. But this match, I didn't actually expect too much from in terms of a street fight. But these four ladies all brought it. Like you said, the Bunny took some horrible spots, and even Anna Jay did, especially when I think she middle rope suplexed the Bunny into the thumbtacks. It was just very, very brutal right from the word go. Penelope Ford had this awful spot where with the moonsault on the table that didn't break, that looked so painful. I hope that Ty was okay from that, but the match itself, it was incredible. It was great.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. And my only issue, and I want more of this, is why wasn't this the main event? What could actually follow that? That's how good it was. Unfortunately,
I mean, I agree. I do feel like that should have been the main event, especially with the amount of carnage that came following that match. So I definitely think that could have been a main eventer.
Without doubt. And then you've got Cody versus Paige next. You're going, oh, come on. And it's a foregone conclusion. And they're using Dan Lambert. Could have gone, who's more heel than Cody? All right, we'll use Dan. We'll see if the fans buy that. But I imagine, if you will, Arn Anderson, just like in No Country for Old Men, going to the American building and using his Glock to take every member out. You just, I can visualize.
I can see that, definitely. Like, gangster Arn.
Sure.
I mean, that is my favourite thing, and it always will be.
Definitely is my favourite as well.
Right, so on to a bit of news, and a couple of bits and pieces, and this is why I like having people on to discuss it, because of Big Swole calling out AEW for lack of diversity. Now, this is something that we've actually talked about, Jaxie, on this, so we'll get Gina what she thinks. Obviously, Tony Khan saying that, Jade Bowen's case to Dante Nyla, Mark Quinn all won on TV this month, and the tournament was diverse. Again, as a white male, I don't think I've got a lot of right to talk about kind of, diversity and this kind of stuff. So, Gina, what are your thoughts? Because, as looking in, you might think, well, maybe there's kind of more white wrestlers.
I mean, these are just my personal views. I hope I don't offend anyone listening to this. And if you don't agree, fair enough. But I'm a mixed race female. For me, I found AEW to be very diverse in terms of not, just black or white wrestlers. You have, Asian wrestlers, Spanish wrestlers, Brazilian. There are so many out there, and they're very popular wrestlers as well. I will admit that maybe we could do more in terms of elevating some more of the persons of color to be in the running. And I agree in terms of the fact that we haven't had, a black AEW champion yet. But I'm truly honest, and I asked Jaxie this the other day, who in the company right now would you put as a black AEW champion, apart from possibly Scorpio Sky, who has already become a tag champion, might we add in? So in my eyes, Tony should not have responded with the tweet that he did. Regardless as to how he felt, he should just not have responded. His response was silly because he pretty much named the black wrestlers that he could in one tweet, and then also added in an insult to Swole, when really he could have just, either ignored or even just sent a more diplomatic tweet out, just saying we are a very diverse company. We are still making strides to make it a better company than it already is. I will take anything into consideration, and just keep it mutual as much as he could. He added fuel to the fire when he sent that tweet out. I can also understand where Swole was coming from. She wasn't actually slating the company either. I don't think Tony really read what she had said, because she wasn't slating it. She just said they could do better, which every company out there could do better. There's always something that can be improved. Again, I just don't think that Tony handled it in the right way. And that's kind of ignited more more fuel into this argument now of the diversity. But if you ask me, there are a lot of diverse wrestlers in AEW. Could we see more? Yes. But do we want to bombard everyone with 20 new black wrestlers, 20 new Asian wrestlers, and shove that down all the fans' throat? I also don't think that will go down well. So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You have to find a common ground in between. And Tony just didn't do that.
No, that's an excellent point. And Leo Rush got so frustrated about this as well, asking Tony Khan to apologise, which is, again, probably something that needs to be settled, not on Twitter, And I think, and if people want to have a go at Tony Khan...
I think Leo Rush had every right to say that, but yeah, just wait, do it behind the screens. It's all about discretion and professionalism.
Read the room, read the room, see what's going on, and then, when we can. And like I said, if people want to have a go at Tony Khan for diversity, don't have a go at diversity, have a go at the women's wrestling. That's a simple target, this is, again, not having a go at Tony Khan, but when asked about women's wrestling and maybe having more on Dynamite, he cut him off and said, I don't think you realise what I did for the NWA show. I basically paid all the women to be on there, and I don't think I get enough credit. So have a go at him for that, all right? Not anything else. That's fair enough. We also got more upset as well. We've touched on this earlier, about homophobic lines and stuff like this in promos, especially with Dan Lambert, with Chris Jericho. And I think, would you both agree, we've spoke about earlier with the kind of fans in attendance, and I think this is not needed in promos either. And we've talked about MJF kind of low-hanging fruit. There's just no need for it now, especially in 2022.
I just think that, we, especially as you say, we're in 2022, I think we're past an age where we take sort of anything to do with very sensitive subjects, such as people being homophobic or racist, and we try to turn it into a comedy or into a joke. I think that is distasteful. It's getting distasteful in stand-up comedy. It's getting distasteful in promos. I just think there's no need for that type of sort of what's the word, sort of promo work. There's no need for them to kind of hit below the belt when it comes to those types of subjects. They are sensitive subjects. They are also subjects that actually are still a huge issue that cause a lot of pain, hurt, and suffering throughout every corner of the world. So we do not need to keep on trying to make light of it, even in a promo, even if that is a small silly joke. We need to move past this now. We've got other ways of communication. We've got other things in AEW and in overall wrestling that could be turned into a joke, making snide comments about different companies here and there. I would rather take on loads of that and have companies taking jibes at one another than it be all about a racist attack or a homophobic attack, and it's all classed as just a joke. It's not anymore. So end it.
No, I didn't think we were going to get as serious as we are, but this is the thing where you talk about the issues, and the WNR podcast, we've had, I said, big gay following right at the start, especially with me and Dan being together on the show. That kind of what drove us in the first year or so. And the amount of kind of hate, we'd get, not for hate from people, but being told about the hate, just posting normal pictures of them with their partner or on the beach. It's crazy. And again, as a white male, a bit like the racist, you cannot fathom what people have to suffer every day, because we don't. And it's and that is why it's equality. That's why it's all these things, and people just don't get it. It's the whole thing again. All lives matter. You're not getting the point. Shut the fuck up. It's just as simple as that.
I totally agree with you, James. And one thing I will throw out there for anyone who's listening and hasn't ever experienced this: if you are have some form of ethnicity in you, and your name it definitely sounds ethnic. Other people, when I say other people, I suppose white people with standard names who don't sound ethnic don't know the feeling of having to, or thinking that you need to put your nickname or your name that sounds more English on your CV just to get a job because you think you're going to be judged just upon your name, let alone them meeting you in person to know your race. You know, it's such a sensitive matter, and there are so many little things that could set anyone off. And it's about having that awareness, you know, even if you don't know how to pronounce someone's name, it's much more polite to then ask them, you know, how would I pronounce this, rather than try and assume or just hear from somebody else how they pronounce it and pronounce it that way as well. Little things like that just build up, and it's nice to raise that awareness, even if we do have to get a bit serious in our podcasts. It's so nice to raise a bit of awareness, because you never know who may hear this and then have a similar experience in life, and they know to kind of how to react a little bit better, I would say. So it would always be nice to try and find a constructive way to look at things as well and learn from it.
Yeah, I think about that. Like I said, everybody welcome on the WNR podcast, that's for sure. And we're going to talk about AEW, of course, and it had a major upgrade when it comes to television in the UK, with both ITV and ITV4 airing Rampage starting last week, as well as Dynamite being unedited on ITV. Rampage debuts Tuesday nights at 11:05pm on ITV4, replay late Thursday. It'll be late night airing a week, beginning at 11:40 to 12:40 as well. Page was only on Fight, and now has been agreed to ITV, and also Dynamite is going to be on ITV on Monday nights, airing increased from an edited 1 hour show to a full 2 hours. And it says the ratings for this Friday night show usually does anywhere from 100,000 to 185,000, with as much as 250,000 people be able to watch it throughout the week. This is only good news for AEW, and I tell you why it's good news as well, because even my mum, who doesn't wrestling whatsoever, will kind of, when we have a conversation, be like, oh, I saw that Elite Wrestling or whatever it is, and I think, and that's what's going to get you. It's people that don't watch wrestling who will watch it for 15 or 20 minutes and then get into it. I think this can only be a good thing, especially as it's free to air TV.
Definitely. That's really exciting news, especially for, you know, fans in the UK, you know, who may struggle to actually get a stream up or aren't able to pay for Fight TV. This is even more exciting for them as a replay, for them to kind of catch up. But it also just opens up a lot more doors for maybe, you know, UK wrestling fans that only stick with UK content. It just branches that balance out a bit more as well. So yeah, it's exciting for AEW. I hope the viewership does well for AEW.
Well, without a doubt, but also Fight TV have increased the like we talked about, the AEW Plus price each month. It's gone from $4.99 to $6.99. You continue to get everything, plus exclusive merch special offers, because we always use that, and also fight credits as well. So it has gone up $2. But I would say, you know, like I said, it is free to air ITV, but I quite enjoy Fight. I'm getting into Fight TV. You know, I'm starting to.
Same here. Same here. I think AEW have done wonders by joining up with Fight TV, because I must admit I never even had heard of Fight TV before. So, you know, they're definitely still getting new fans in watching it on Fight TV, and I just think I've never had any issues watching the content on there.
No, it'd be nice if they could do more for like my account or something like this, but also for preferences. Anybody going on for the first time, just select wrestling. You don't want to get all the boxing and the amount of adverts or the amount of programs that get shoved my way. And I go, I'm not interested in this. I want my AEW Plus.
It's just the wrestling. Exactly. Just give me the wrestling. That's what I wanted.
I don't care.
At least you know you're getting more than what you bargained for for your price.
So we start the new year, January 5th, and of course this is a new for Dynamite because they're on TBS for the very first time, and we started off with Bryan Danielson versus Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. We see Bryan busted open Page and controlled the vast majority of the first 20 minutes, and Page sent Bryan into the ring post three times, cutting the challenger open, and Page marked his own chest with the blood of his opponent, a badge of honor, He went to a top rope moonsault. Power slam earned him a 2. He added the Deadeye. He set up for the buckshot lariat, but fatigued Danielson fell before he connect with the move. But Danielson did manage to pile the bell lock, looking for the submission, but of course Hangman refused to tap. There was so many headbutts in this match. I think even commentary mentioned the amount of headbutts we've seen is unbelievable. We saw a Gotch-style pile driver, a bit like Suzuki's one, but only got 2. Page answered by counter running knee with a powerbomb, only to Danielson choke, and Page finally shook off the pain, agony, frustration, and face caked with blood to put Danielson away with a buckshot for the win. Jaxie, what did you think of this match? Because you said to me once before, AEW usually start their shows with a bang. I didn't see it here.
Yeah, again, they do start their shows with a bang, and it just kind of, got messy real quick. The blood just came flowing. Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page just worked so well together, and it did kind of get to me slightly, thinking, what is the outcome going to be here? Are they, is he going to try and milk it so that he could win by default of points? You have the judges there who didn't really do anything but just sit there and pretend to make some notes. I think overall it was like a really great match, one that I was just kind of towards the end getting a little bit worried about how the outcome was going to be, but he delivered a brilliant buckshot, and finally just kind of put Danielson down for a bit, so to speak. It was really enjoyable. I love watching these two in the ring, and it was a great way to open up the show.
Yeah, and I like thinking about now, looking at judges, Jerry Lynn's like, don't forget, make sure to get it. Like I said, really, really good stuff. Old school, crimson masks. That's the expression there. Just really, really good stuff. And then we see MJF made his way to the ring for a match with Captain Sean Dean when CM Punk appeared chasing the scarf-wearing Hill to the floor. He then blasted in with boot to the midsection and a go to sleep, laying a disqualification loss on his foe. And MJF cut a scathing promo in which he said Punk wasn't talented enough to headline WrestleMania, unlike Roddy Piper, and soon he'll be vating Mania. Punk said, you think the grass is so green on the other side, be my guest, go ahead, leave main event night 4 of a buy one get one free extravaganza, and then get released faster than you last in the sack. And then Punk asked for a match and MJF accepted. Punk versus Wardlow next week. I thought it was good stuff, but they do love mentioning WWE. Gina, what do you think of it?
I mean, I do think that they need to kind of cut back on the WWE jabs now and just, start sticking it independently to themselves. I get it. They get more excitement out of fans when they do stuff like that. But I do think that maybe they've started to do one too many. I enjoyed that segment, but I totally understood what CM Punk was doing, but I just totally felt for Sean Dean. Why couldn't he just hit him in the face to start the match and then just get that? Did he have to go with the go to sleep to Sean Dean? He didn't even try and help him up after and say, sorry, man, you got the win. Sorry about that. He didn't even do any of that. He was just like, nah, you can roll out. Let me do my promo. So it was a little bit like, oh, okay, great. Sean Dean got a win, but at what cost? So... yeah, but it was a bit of a weird segment for me. I enjoyed it, but I also thought, is that necessary? Could have just gave him a little slap. So, yeah, it was. Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to Punk versus Wardlow. It'd be nice to see someone last longer than 20 seconds in a ring with Wardlow for starters. And I definitely think that they're going to put on a very entertaining match. Again, I hope they don't over drag it out though, because even though it's great in story building and things, I don't know if I really want CM Punk continuously feuding with MJF for the next 3 months. So I hope that we can sort of get past Wardlow, then get to the match with CM Punk and MJF, and then move on again from there.
Put you on the spot then, you're saying Punk beats Wardlow.
Oh, yeah. He's got to get to MJF. He has got to get to MJF.
There's definitely no way he could face MJF if he can't beat Wardlow. So that is a challenge. Sure.
Heard it here first. I'm going to say Wardlow wins, but hey, what do I know? Anyway, no, weirdly enough, though,
interesting one.
Weirdly enough, we talk about DQ finish, and Tony Khan actually talking about over MG. It's a short hold win. He also become the first wrestler in 140 episodes of AEW TV, Team Dynamite, 22 Rampage, to ever win a match via DQ. The first ever DQ finish. And that can only be a good thing, can't it?
At least he's a record setter.
You see?
That's so true.
This is the
higher side of things. Look at the positive side of things, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, about making history. We'll never forget. We'll never the first DQ winner in AEW. It's just when they keep doing it now and have the roll-up victories. But it should be fine. But why? And then we had another Wardlow squash. I tell you what, why don't you put a women's match there? Let's be crazy. Go on. Let's change the scheduling a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
I'm just saying. Hashtag just saying. And then we did have the TBS Championship Tournament final. Ruby Soho, Jade Cargill, and Soho nursed a shoulder injury entering the final, and Cargill wasted little time targeting it. Mercedes Martinez for attempt to interfere. Thunder Rosa faltered to the back, and when Smart Mark attempted to interfere on his behalf, he was ejected. In the end, Cargill needed neither to realise her championship dreams. The first-year competitor endured a no future, but Soho away with an avalanche. Jaded to etch her name in the history. I did like the fact Jade was rope and went, no, fuck that, second rope's fine. Let's not kill Ruby. But I thought I really enjoyed this. Gina, what did you think of this match?
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I do think that the ladies held the match on their own. I think that they did well in working with each other, especially because this is the first match that we've seen between these two. They had good chemistry in the ring as well. I was very entertained when I saw Jade attempt to go to the top rope and then be like, no, I think it's better to do it from the second rope, which I definitely think was a good idea, because I don't know if they would have executed it as well from the top rope either. But yeah, again, Jade proved that she didn't really need anyone sort of back in her corner and that she had this in the bag herself. I am happy she won, to be fair. I would have been happy with either winning. I don't think I would have been disappointed with any of them winning it. So yeah, I'm glad Jade won it, because I do think with the way they built her up since she's joined AEW, she's not really had any losses apart from maybe that first one with Red Velvet and Cody. Oh no, they won that
they
one,
won it.
Didn't they?
I think she's 22 and 0 or something like that, off the top of my head.
Yeah, so it would have been really shocking for her to not win this match, basically, with how they built her. But I also think that Ruby did really well in terms of being a good contender, because I couldn't choose who was going to win that match. I really couldn't. At one point, I thought Ruby was winning it. Another point, I thought Jade was winning it. And that's one thing that I do appreciate about matches, when you're watching them and you really can't guess who's going to get the win. So that for me shows that it was a successful match.
Well, this is something I was going to mention of the Danielson page. It's almost disappointment from the fans that Danielson didn't get the win, and it's not knowing. It's the same here with, like you said, Soho and Cargill, where you weren't sure who was going to get the victory, and it annoyed me. But I should stop going on Twitter, because people go, "Oh, all this Tony Khan thing, and this is why he made Jay champion." No, look at the year. The year she had, and it's funny. MJF mentions main event in Mania. Don't be surprised if Jade does. She's only 29, and how special an attraction she is. It was unbelievable. I'm looking at her and just going, wow, anyway. And I found as well, much like Brian, Soho's come to AEW to kind of be the workhorse, and she shone here because there's a lot of work here.
Yeah, I definitely think that, like Gina said, Ruby and Jade worked well together. I think that, having someone as experienced as Ruby in the ring also kind of helped to elevate Jade and her wrestling as well. I think both women did really, really well, personally myself. And I remember, I think we were having this discussion a few podcasts ago, James, about how I didn't really want Jade to win, because if I didn't want the title to be sort of referenced as that bitch show. And if I push aside sort of that little slogan, I'm actually glad that she won, and for the specific reasons that we just pointed out in terms of how she's been like showcased and marketed from the very get-go, from the very beginning. She's like, come across undefeatable and everything like that. And I will just actually say it to all the haters that decided to put it out there on Twitter. Tony did not give her that title for her skin color. He gave her that title because she is a workhorse. She worked her ass off. If you actually go back and watch her first match against Red Velvet in the tag team match, you will see that there was some very sloppy moments in there. Every wrestler is obviously continuously trying to work better on themselves. But if you look at the year that Jade has had, she's totally earned that right to be TBS Women's Champion. And she deserves every minute of it. And she was not given it because of the color of her skin. So I'm just putting that out there now. That's a fact.
No, and like I said, the finish was great as well. And the picture, obviously not on Dynamite, but you can find it. We found it on Twitter. The picture of her with the belt and her daughter was just so kind of me getting emotional. Just what a moment, just showed what a strong woman actually is. And a lot of people are scared of that, so I am not.
You're so right.
I am not. If anybody's listening, you're strong. I'm all in.
Well, now we all know the type of woman that James is into. So Jade, if you're ever single, give him a call.
Well, I'm just saying.
Or anyone that looks like Jade that's listening, call him.
just anybody. No, I don't want to make it into that. That's fine. It's fine. People don't care that I'm very lonely, right? It doesn't matter. We're gonna get on there. We had a great sit down with Serena Deeb with JR, of course, the match. But wouldn't it be nice to see Eagles action on like a Rampage or a Dynamite kind of the match between the two? We then see, I keep calling Aleister Black, I don't mean to, Malachi Black beating Brian Pillman, and then the AEW Tag Team Championship at stake in this week's main event as Lucha Bros defended against Jurassic Express. Of course, the action started fast and furious.
I can't think of that match without cringing.
Well, this is something we've talked about before as well, and it's going to be interesting to see your point of view. But we get a hot tag to Luchasaurus, but to come back and electrify the at one point the arena darkened. We see Alex Abrahantes setting up a table at ringside, but Christian Cage chased him off. Luchasaurus putting Fenex through a table with a choke slam. And at first, it didn't look too... Gina, when did you realise what... Because the first time I was like, that's fine. Straight away. Really?
I saw it right away. Right away. I had Jaxie in my ear on the PlayStation chat, and I just screeched. I was like, oh!
I honestly, my toes are still curling at the thought of it. I saw it, and it was just... why did they have to repeat? Like they replayed it like 2 or 3 times. Like, what is wrong with you, AEW? We saw it the once. That was enough, honestly.
It was a great match, don't get me wrong, but I really can't steer. I cannot get that image out of my mind from seeing that happen. I can't imagine the pain.
Honestly, he looked in excruciating agony, and it was all the arm bent around. And then we had Penta with Jungle Boy rolling up to Captain. Got new AEW Tag Team Champions. Like you said, it was AEW's equivalent of Sid jumping off the second rope in WCW. Like, this is something that's going to be looked at in years to come. We see the entire tag division spilling out to the stage as Chris Jericho got quickly told to start clapping, and others for Fox. But again, this is something that we've talked about. Another injury in a match. I mean, someone needs to...
for Ray Fenex again. Someone protect this man at all costs.
Someone needs to calm him down. Just be
especially
like, no.
Because of how good he is as a wrestler. He is such a good wrestler, but he just keeps getting taken out.
Every match, it seems like there's going to be an injury, and it's just worrying, because that was probably the most ugliest of injuries that he sustained, and we've all seen the amount of injuries that Ray Fenex has sustained. I really, really hope he's okay, and that he's, sort of like on the mend. The arms all, in the right place and everything like that. It's just a major shame because it really took away from the end of the match and the fact that we did in fact get new tag champions. I don't believe that this was I don't believe it was supposed to be a last minute decision for them to take the belts. I think that they potentially were supposed to take the belts, but maybe in a different way rather than a roll-up pin. And I think because of what happened with Rey Fenix's arm, they had to shorten the match maybe and just, kind of go with that overall sort of front. That being said, if it was meant to be that the Lucha Brothers retained, I think they did an excellent job with communication at actually telling them right there and then to change it up. They're winning the belts and to quickly just get this over and done with, because they prioritized just kind of making sure to get Rey Fenix out of sort of the camera's eye as soon as possible. It's just a very unfortunate for Rey Fenix, because again, he's going to be probably on the shelf now for the next, I don't know, 4 to 5 to 6 months, I wish him such a speedy recovery, but I also would like to just reach out and congratulate Jungle Express for their win and becoming the new tag champion.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a moment in time where Jurassic Express finally got their big moment. We see Jungle Boy with the championship, and we're thinking, oh shit, another big injury. And I don't think it was no DQ. I don't think it was a tables match. So you think, what was the point? I understand it's a big bump, and that's kind of freak accident. But with the amount that we're seeing, it seems like every couple of weeks, the Archer landing on his head, or we're seeing bits and pieces like this, or even Powerhouse Hobbs getting knocked loopy a couple of months ago. You think, is someone just saying, I know you're going to put on the best show, but we've got to do this next week as well, and if you try and kill yourself, that is not going to help anybody.
I mean, we always want, we always enjoy it when the wrestlers are willing to take risks in order to entertain us and showcase what they can do. But there's a difference between really thinking about what it is you can do and then trying to just show off what you can do. And it's first and foremost, the one thing I do want to reach out to wrestlers and say is that we do care for your health. So please don't, unnecessarily put yourself in that type of harm and in that type of danger. Just think about things before that movement, because the one thing that we don't ever want to see is that there's an early retirement due to one slip up, one mistake, and that is my one worry about Rey Fenix, is that he is going to retire early because of the amount of how accident prone he is, and I don't even think it an injury for Rey Fenix retiring him would be his fault, but it would just be matter of circumstance, and I just want them to look after themselves so that they can be in this business for longer.
Yeah, it always reminds me when Mick Foley's book, he talks about Ric Flair meeting him in WCW and saying, "Oh, Jack, aren't you in a wheelchair yet?" And this is 90. And Mick Foley says, "How dare he say something like that because of my style?" Well, let's not forget, Mick Foley did retire in 2000. Obviously, he came back with TNA run and spread it since then. And he retired early in mid-30s. Ric Flair wrestled until he was, 106? So it does show you the kind of styles that each wrestler's got. And it is a shame to see. It's nice, though, that this starts Christian's kind of heel turn, which should be great TV. We're finally elevating Jungle and involved in it. Like I said, really fun main event, but with that injury. What do we think, I'll ask you, Gina, of the Lucha Brothers' reign? Because I think it was okay, but were they given enough time to be special?
It definitely wasn't a reign like the Young Bucks had. That's for sure. I definitely think I don't know whether they had originally planned to change the belts or whether they just saw the situation with Ray's arm and thought, no, give the belt straight to Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I definitely think that the Lucha Brothers could have gone longer with this. They could have had so many more amazing matches, because AEW has some amazing tag teams, and there's still so many more tag teams that the Lucha Bros have to go through. I would have loved to have seen them stay champs a lot longer and had a bit more of a longer reign, but I also kind of have a feeling that it was changed due to this injury. But I think it's just very unfortunate and really sad that this has happened, but I also don't think it will be the last time. the Lucha Brothers get it.
Yeah. No, I would have to agree with you there. It's be interesting to see what happens. And of course, that win and Jungle Boy getting gold, it means MJF's the only pillar not to win gold. AEW, will that change in 2020? So TV rating, what did Dynamite draw on TBS? Well, it drew over 1 million viewers, up 3.59%, very from last week's Smash episode, which is only a good thing, I suppose, for TNT, TBS, AEW. That million to 1 point, maybe 3 would be fair to say. Anything over than that, I think. Well, can AEW get a monster rating, or have they shown that's what they can get, and that's fine?
I mean, I think that there's always room and scope to be able to grow and get more viewership. I do believe that this company has only been around for a couple of years, and I do still believe that there are wrestling fans out there that haven't really given AEW a chance as of yet. So I think that a viewership definitely can continue picking up. I just don't think that they need to be in any form of rush to be trying to take their products like over the top, because of that's when you start becoming too commercial. That's when you start getting a lot sloppier in your content and your continuity and your storytelling. I think that they should just kind of continue what they're doing and continue to progress on working relationships with different companies, different channels, and just kind of continue to showcase themselves as best as they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And then we move on, January 7th, Rampage. We're watching NXT. We're actually watching Rampage. Adam Cole beating Jake Atlas. Had to make sure I got the right channel. But another injury, this time the knee of Atlas, which was a bit of a shame. And then Hook won for the third time. Gina, what do you think of Hook? Do you love him as much as everybody else?
Yeah, for sure. I think they're doing well with how they're building Hook. I think the crowds all love him. Like I've not really heard the crowd go that mad for a young star like that, apart from maybe Jungle Boy. But he's barely done anything in the ring. He's just been a presence whenever he comes out with Team Taz. But yet, the minute he started to wrestle, he just won the hearts of the fans. And I'll admit, I'm definitely intrigued by him. The more I see him wrestle, the more I see him fight, the more I want to see him again. So I think they're doing a really, really good job in pushing him. Not, for anything in particular or any belts, but just growing him as his own personal, wrestler and his own brand. So, yeah, I definitely think Hook's got something good going for him. And I'm really excited to see what feud he kind of buries himself in. Because right now we're just getting little matches here and there with him in. I know that they're definitely going to put a feud in somewhere for him. So I'm excited to see who his first one's going to be. And I definitely think that loads of fans are just excited at all the different possibilities of matches with Hook.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, just really good stuff with him at the moment. And then Baker and Hayter versus Rio Soho, the faces won in this. And then Inner Circle 2.0 beat 2.0 in a main event. And then what we're here for, January 8th, the Battle of the Belts. Excalibur, Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross were on call. David Crockett was ringside, spent the championship to the winner of the match, which was the interim TNT championship, Sammy Guevara versus Dustin Rhodes. Jaxie, what are your thoughts on an interim champion?
I mean, I actually don't mind it. This is something that's not been done in years within wrestling history. So I'm not entirely sure what type of injury that Cody has, and he easily could have vacated the title. But again, this is just adding to what I said about him, like really toying with the crowd and really toying with the fans at the fact that he's not fully giving it up. And he's making it an interim so that he still has that opportunity to come back. And this probably has irritated a lot of people, but I just see it as really good storytelling. So I kind of didn't mind the fact that this was going to take place and be an interim sort of match, because even if I was thinking to myself, even if Dustin Rhodes wins, this would actually make for some really good storytelling, because what would Cody do? Cody, are you going to come back and actually feud it out with your brother, or would you just kind of leave it with him? That's there was just loads of different stories that you could already start kind of thinking of coming out of this match, as no.
I think without a doubt, the crowd was hot for this one, but it felt for me parts of this were in slow motion. There was one point, right, when Dustin just stopped. And of slowing down the pace, but he was like, let me just catch my breath back. Fuego del Sol came out from underneath the ring and set up a table before Arn got his Glock out.
I don't know what he was doing. What were you gonna do with that? Just literally screw over Sammy's chances by getting the table out? Seriously, Fuego, what were you thinking?
I'm just glad Arn
I was
there.
thinking the same thing. What did Fuego think he was doing, pulling that table out? It's why are you getting involved, Fuego? When did Sammy need your help? So I agree with Jaxie on that.
Well, like I said, Arn did blow him away in the end, so that kind of sorted it out. Guevara tried to Spanish fly Dustin through the table. At that point, I thought, that is never going to happen. But Dustin did reverse it, hit Destroyer off the apron through a table. I mean, what the fuck? It looked incredible.
Honestly.
But the wrist...
It did. Honestly, though, the wrist, hit Sammy's neck. I was so worried. I was like, can someone check on Sammy? Can someone check?
Will someone stop the damn match? Come on. It was just... Guevara managed to kick out. Dustin hit 2 crossroads. He teased the Tiger Driver, but Guevara escaped and downed Dustin with a kick. A quick cradle exchange later, Guevara pinned Dustin to win the interim title. And after the match, David Crockett presented the title. Daniel Garcia entered and slapped Guevara before they brawled, forcing officials and separate him. And Guevara challenged Garcia to the TNT title match on Dynamite. Dustin does still impress me. I go hot and cold with Sammy, but I think he needs... David Crockett looks great for 76, but how awkward did he look getting in the ring? He never did it before. Gina, what are your thoughts on the match?
We did actually say, I think he needs help getting in the ring. Surely they had run-throughs of this before. Yeah. So surely he had a little bit of a...
rings, right?
Of how to get in the
rings,
ring.
They got ropes.
The match was great. I thought Dustin was great. I think he still moves really good in the ring. He helps make people look so great as well. We all know Sammy's a great wrestler. Dustin just helped kind of solidify that again. And he just showed that he still has it as well. So, yeah, I was really pleased with the match.
Yeah, I thought it was quite fun. And we see Taz joining commentary and the FTW Championship on the line. Ricky Starks versus Matt Sydal. They jockeyed for position for a long time. Went up top. Starks went for a Roshambo, but Sydal turned it to top rope Frankensteiner and the Michinoku driver. A lightning spiral followed for a near fall. And after a Meteora, Sydal covered, but Starks' foot was on the ropes. He came back with a spear and a Roshambo for win. And after the match, Starks and Hobbs beat down Sydal. Lee Moriarty ran out to try and make the save, but was dropped by the right hand from Hobbs. Dante Martin came out to dispatch Sydal for facing off with Hobbs. He drop-kicked Hobbs out of the ring as Team Taz retreated back up the ramp. I think you just send Hook. Gina, what do you think of Ricky Starks? And I know you're a huge fan, so I'm going to ask you what you thought of the match and be unbiased.
I am going to be unbiased because I'm going to come into this and say Matt Sydal was so good. I really love Matt Sydal. Every time I see him in the ring, I'm like, why don't we see more of him? I don't feel like he gets enough matches. He helps people to look good, but he's also so versatile himself. And we've seen him fight powerhouses. We've seen him fight other high flyers. And he just merges well with all of them, and he can adapt himself so well. I really enjoyed the match. I thought they both kind of had a good, couple of turns each. I thought it could have gone on longer, not just for me to stare at Ricky, but I just thought that they could have had a bit more of a longer time. But I appreciate that they didn't have the time to spare for it. So in all honesty, I thought it was a good match. I didn't think Matt was going to win just because they hadn't really built up a feud for this match. It kind of just got announced randomly. And as much as I always love to see Ricky Starks in a match, it would be a bit nicer if you're going to put a match like this on Battle of the Belts to have a little bit more of a backstory to it, other than oh, he was with Dante Martin, so I want to beat him up sort of thing, because we have actually seen Ricky Starks versus Matt Sydal before. So I just wish they would have created more of a story a few weeks beforehand to make this match feel a bit more impactful rather than a filler match. But aside from that, I think it was still a great match. I was entertained seeing them both, and I just love Ricky Starks' Roan Shambo move. It's so cool.
Yeah, well, Starks is another one who needs to wrestle more, but his commentary is slowly that. But like I said, no way Sydal win, and we get a video package main event that Britt Baker has never beaten Rio. Will she be able to? The AEW Women's World Championship on the line. Interference on Hayter, allowing Baker to take control. Rio gave herself some separation, went for a diving crossbody, but Baker moved out of the way. Rio dived on Hayter instead. Hayter and Baker went to set up a table, but Rio attacked. She set for a top rope double stomp, but Rebel took the hit. Baker avoided a second attempt to hit an air raid crash. She went for the lockjaw, but Rio avoided and slaps her across the face. Baker countered with Dragon Suplex into another lockjaw attempt, but Rio managed to reach the ropes. We get more and more interference, allowing Baker to finally go for the lockjaw. But Rio rolled Baker up for a good near fall. Baker then hit a curb stomp. Hayter brought the belt in the ring, but the official ejected Rebel, as you would. Obviously, so more between Baker and Hayter as well. Rio used distraction to hit a Northern Lights suplex, but couldn't get the job done. Baker countered. She hit a curb stomp and then applied the lockjaw for the win. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this main event?
Well, firstly, I just want to say it was great that they chose this to be the main event. This was the only way to go forward for the main event for Battle of the Belts. I also still felt like there should have been another female match on the cards, but I mean, that's just personal. I think the match overall was good. I think that there was so here's my thing. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but I thought the match was good, but I kind of felt like this should have gone the other way. I kind of feel like they could have played more with the whole Riho has never been beaten by Britt sort of thing. And the way I would have done this is exactly how they actually did the match, which is there was so much interference, whether it was coming from Jamie Hayter or Rebel, there was always interference. I would have loved for this sort of outcome where Jamie accidentally cost Britt the match, including the title, and then having sort of this sort of feud start taking off with Jamie Hayter to then have Britt come back and then take the title and finally beat Riho without the help of Jamie Hayter because she's already put Jamie down or something like that. That personally would have been my forte. However, that being said, this match was good. Riho is just so good in the ring. She's got so much talent. I think both women work really well together. And if it wasn't for so much interfering, I think that the match could have been a lot better. In terms of, hype from the crowd. But I think that there was a bit too much going on in terms of both Jamie and Rebel kind of constantly interfering. For a women's title match, I think that the ref should have done a better job with all of these interferences. You wouldn't have gotten this many interferences in, say, Hangman Page's match.
Well, this is the thing, and interference can work, but the champ does need to win herself, even if it's a heel champion, to get the job done. And like I said, I enjoyed the effort. Yeah. The crowd weren't 100% into it, maybe because, they thought Britt was always going to beat Rio. And I think that's the one thing maybe with Britt Baker, 220 days as champion. And I can't think of many main event or standout moments in a title reign. And is it the reason because no one's on her level, or have they this much? Because when I think of Baker, Thunder Rosa, but obviously that happened before a title reign.
Yeah. See, do you know what? I don't even think it's any sort of fault of Britt's, but I just don't think. I think since she became champion, they've not kind of handled the storylines as well as they could do compared to that of the AEW World title. I think that she has the potential to be kind of having this great feud, title run feud with the likes of Thunder Rosa. But I feel like they're trying to prolong it too much, and by doing that, they're kind of ruining the sort of like the whole run of Brit's championship. I think that as much as it's great to see like a woman be able to hold the title for so long, because they are a company that are only a couple of years old, they still need to solidify other women and not just focus on one main woman. We don't want this to become a new Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch situation where we know that, Britt's just going to automatically be handed title after title after title. We need to know that, that this time last year, for example, like Britt was still just trying to solidify her heel persona, and I just think that, we don't want to stigmatize the other women that are working their butts off and showcasing themselves really well as well within this title run of Brit's. And we don't want to have it so that Britt has been there, done that, beaten everyone sort of thing. There has to be certain challenges. Like, we can't make her unstoppable. Otherwise, it's just going to get boring. Her character is going to get boring. People will grow bored. And then that kind of ends up leaving Britt with nothing to do. We don't want that.
No. Also, it's easy for AEW or for Dynamite to be like, right, let's look at the schedule. We've got one women's match. Oh, Britt can just do as long as she does an interview and it ends with DMD, that's her on the show. And I think that is a problem. Because quite a strong character. They don't, like you said, if it was an MJF or Chris Jericho or people like that, she would consistently be wrestling on the shows and, like I said, improving other women around her. But looking at Battle of Belts, I mean, but the Battle of Belts, it's funny that CM Punk said, obviously, to MJF, the main event night 4 of a buy one, get one free extravaganza, when this just felt like, what the fuck? It's like, Dynamite was the real Battle of Belts. Like we said, we had the tag title change, we had the world title match. What was this? AEW just did a throwaway event like WWE did. Or am I wrong?
No, I mean, you're not wrong there. I think I do have to ask myself, well, why weren't these matches also on Battle of the Belts? I'm not sure I understand what Tony's reasoning behind having like the tag titles and the AEW title kind of defended on like the normal show. And yes, I can understand about the TBS title being showcased on there. It was a new channel and it's their belt. I understand that. But these other matches you really could have had for this show and made it, like it wasn't even that long a show anyway on Saturday. So they could have easily added these 2 matches and it would have just made this, again, another very strong contender for a great pay-per-view show from AEW. So I just think that, like, it sucks because I don't want to badmouth it, but I feel like there wasn't enough for on that show to have made it like its own pay-per-view. They should have brought the tag titles and the AEW title matches up to that one. They had them in the same week, so there was really no need for it to be on within a weekday. You could have had that on the Saturday, and you probably would have drawn more attention to yourselves if they had.
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense.
It's called Battle of the Belts. It made sense to do more title matches on that show rather than a standard Dynamite or Rampage show. So it was baffling to know that the only titles really were the TNT, which was interim, and the FTW, which, as much as I love Ricky Starks, that belt isn't really on the same, page as the rest of the belts. And then there's Britt's belt.
Well, this is the thing, it's Dynamite, Rampage, and then AEW special. It's kind of real throwaway.
It was a throwaway pay-per-view. One that I enjoyed, but one that could have been much longer. So it is confusing as to why they went about it this way. I suppose they wanted to make more of an impact on their first show on TBS, which is understandable. But when you're holding a sort of pay-per-view that is titled Battle of the Belts, Tony, you might want to put the belts on there.
It's strange that they did it, and it's a WWE move. And AEW have got enough kind of good spirit and stuff like this. But if you're just doing the specials because that's what you're contracted with TNT, fine. but don't pretend it's something special. If you are, like I said, change it up, because if the tag title match had been on here with the TNT title and the women's main event, that would have been perfect, or extend it a little bit. And like I said, throughout all this, only one women's match on each show, which is just such a shame. I know they've got a kind of standard women's match before the main event, but they look at the talent that they've got. This is Jackson. It is unacceptable.
It is. It's just disappointing, isn't it? Really, because of, like you just said, we've got so many different talented women on this roster that could go more. I do think that they should bring in some female tag titles. You've got quite a few women that team up quite often with one another. That you could really just kind of start showcasing off as strong candidates to be champions. And I think if getting women's tag belts means that more women will be showcased, then we need to actually introduce this. I know we've just gotten a new women's TBS belt, but it's clearly still not enough. As you just said, for this is just for one whole week, and we had one women's match per show. It's just not really acceptable when you know that the ratio between male wrestlers and female wrestlers are near enough in the same. So they can't say that they struggle to find talent, because they have a plethora of talent that is on their roster. They need to stop relying so heavily on the men to give a good show and actually give the women a chance, because hands down, half of the women are better than the male wrestlers in certain matches. So I'm just saying.
No, honestly, and this is something that I've said about WWE for a very long time. The female wrestlers are better characters and better workers than the majority of the male roster. When you look at even about EST or the Boss or the Queen, the Man, you can name all these. You think AEW, it's very, very simple to kind of get it sorted. And considering that Impact just had Hard to Kill, which was a great pay-per-view, we'll speak about on the live show. They had the Ultimate X women's match starting off with 6 women involved. And the main event was Mickie James versus Gianna Perazzo. And even WWE have announced Mickie James, the Impact Women's Champion, is going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble. So we've got this coming this month. You would think Tony Khan would go, let's battle it with something else. Or let's have something there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now, WWE are stepping up a lot more than AEW when it comes to showcasing their women. Like both companies really have a lot to work on when it comes to showcasing their women, and they're actually giving them equal amount of time on camera, on screen, in the ring than the men do. But this was a little bit disappointing to basically have 2 women's matches during 1 week, even though we had a pay-per-view event. So they definitely need to step it up a little bit more. And if that means getting tag belts for them, then do it, because you have a plethora of women that deserve to be tag champions.
Yeah, I think without that, it'd be interesting to see what they do. But that is nearly it. What an enjoyable look at AEW. Gina, how have you found AEW? Like we said, what we've looked at now. Have you been enjoying the product as much as you ever have been?
Yeah, I'm still really enjoying it. I'm still excited each week for the next show to see what's going to happen next, what we're going to see next. I agree with both yourself and Jaxie. I really, really hope that they do more with their women's division. They have so many female wrestlers there that they could use and, start something with, start storylines with. That's what we need to see more of. There are always going to be areas for improvement with any company, let alone AEW. There's always going to be some areas for improvement. But all in all, I'm still excited each week, because I don't think it's going to be the same show as it was last week or the week before. I always feel that is still different at this point in time, which is nice. We don't want anything repetitive, which is why I've lost interest in another certain program. But it's getting better, and I do hope that all of this, constructive criticism that they're receiving, they take on board and truly do something with it. But I'm still enjoying it.
Oh, I said what I said during the show, but it's still the most enjoyable Dynamite is still the most enjoyable wrestling show each week. There's no, I watch 8 of them, so I fucking know. Like, the Dynamite is, But like you said, it's at these points where you look at it and go, how can we improve the product and kind of move on, as opposed to go, no, everything's perfect. Well, no, you kind of adjust and have a look. And like I said, the pod started in 2015. It was Bayley and Banks' match at TakeOver that really changed everything. And since then, Women's Royal Rumbles and Chambers and the Mae Young Classic and stuff like this, even if it's a tournament, or not a tournament as such for AEW, because they do love tournaments, or something like a Battle Royal involved to build it up. But Dynamite is still great. Like I said, Adam Page is fantastic. The amount of talent that they've got is unbelievable, And AEW is something that, of course, we're going to be looking at each month as well. But that is basically it for today. The next time we will be together will be, hopefully, at the end of the month for the Royal Rumble live show. Now, we've just mentioned Mickie James in the Women's Rumble match. Jaxie, are you excited for the Women's Royal Rumble and the actual event coming up?
I'm always excited for the Royal Rumble. It is one of the best pay-per-views that WWE do every year. I'm disappointed because WWE just gave away like a lot of the lineup already, which they could have easily left a surprise for a lot of us fans. I don't understand why they did do it like that, probably just to actually entice people to watch. But, regardless as to whether or not I'm disappointed with finding out who's going to be part of it already, my excitement level is still there for it. I mean, come on, we've got Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins coming up on there as well. You've got, Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. Like, there's some peak matches that are also involved in Royal Rumble. So, yeah. Definitely excited.
Well, like I said, Gina, hopefully you enjoyed being on today's show, and you'll join us for the Rumble live show as well.
Oh, always. I always enjoy my time on these shows, and yes, I will be there for the Rumble show too. Like Jaxie said, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm a bit disappointed that they announced all the participants for the females. I know that they would have done that anyway in terms of announcing certain people, but I also think that that's one of the nicest surprises for Royal Rumble, is not knowing who's coming out next. So it would have been nice for them to keep certain things a bit more quiet.
Yeah, I think that's true, but also at the Rumble, we'll do live predictions. So you can, we'll get it down and get it done. And also do Rumble bonus point games. So we'll do stuff like who do you think the final four will be? You know what I mean? Who the Roman Reigns award most eliminations and stuff like that as well. Also looking at statistics and stats and everything like that. It should be really, really fun. But today has been a great show. But that is it for now. Don't forget, across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. Jaxie, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me across Twitter and Instagram at Jaxie Scarlett.
And Gina, do you want people contacting you? It's up to you. I'm not going to give personal information.
You can do, especially if people still have issues with me choosing the Miz. You can contact me on Instagram at PurpleRain1089, or you can contact me on Twitter at Purple Pain.
Well, there we go. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, across all Google platforms. Send us an angry email about Gina at the WNR Podcast at gmail.com. Podcast latest clips on YouTube as well, and SoundCloud on your phone, and also Spotify, iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review. So that is it. The next episode of WNR will be NXT Update, but until then, I have been James Rowlands and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie. Thanks for joining me, Jaxie.
Thank you for having me again. This has been so fun.
And of course, we've got Genius Gina as well.
Yes, I love this little nickname. Thank you for having me on again, James. It was super fun.
No problems. I've enjoyed myself and I hope everybody listening has as well. Thanks and bye.